All right, Russ. The real question is, why is it important for us to be covering how do I make passive income?
Well, welcome into the show, by the way. This is such a fantastic episode. I love every single time, every single week, we get to break down our passive income report because it gives us a chance, one, to reflect personally on this stuff. And I don't know, Joey, for you, but it's too often times where we can go months, even years, without ever looking at our financial picture. And, I know you've seen the adage, people plan their vacations and spend way more time doing that than they ever will planning for their financial future. Well, I think that it could be true too for us, even as for financial professionals, not to spend time. So what I love every single month is that you and I get to sit on this podcast and talk about our passive income report because it forces us, it's the accountability for us to do the thing that's the most important thing for us. And consequently for you as you listen, it gives you a chance to kind of listen in and to maybe have some reflection and some aha moments for yourself. So why is it so important? One, there's accountability to actually going through this process. But two, here's the thing. I get asked this question so frequently, and whether it's in the gym, when I'm at an event, people will say, how do I build passive income? Like really, like what do I do? How do I build passive income? And I think if you don't have the know-how, if you have not built out a process for yourself to do this, it's the skill set that you need to invest in the most. So this passive income report, we're going to break down that, right, Joy? For you, why is it so important?
Well, I'll tell you, today's podcast, we're going to break down the three ways that we have used to create passive income, right? How we traded cash for returns, how we traded time for returns, and lastly, how we traded time and money for return. But it struck me the most this past week when you and I were at a financial conference. We're surrounded by these are arguably the top 1% earners in one of these companies that we work with. And we go around the room, and it would not shock me if less than 20% of the people in that room knew how to create passive income. And if that's the real issue, if the people that you rely on for financial advice, financial planners, people that are in the financial game don't understand this, how in the world are they going to help you to create financial freedom? It just doesn't exist. So we have to spend time on this. And it's just like what Russ said, it's like a muscle that you have to start working out to get stronger, to understand how to do this for yourself. Nobody else is going to do it for you. And we're going to break down all of the ways that we've done it and the step by step that you can take. All that and more in this episode. So let's dive in right now.
All right. Will you open up the passive income report and share it right out of the gate? And that way
Absolutely.
people can not only follow along. So if you're joining us live on YouTube, welcome. Grateful to have you. This is our monthly passive income report that we record, and it will ultimately go out on the podcast here in a couple of weeks. So you get a kind of behind the scenes view of it. So we're doing this live. If you have a question, something that comes up, throw that in the chat, in the comment section. I think the comments actually populate on our side somehow, some way. Stallion, I'm gonna depend on you to see those. You're the guru at finding that stuff,
The comments.
and
Yep.
we'll happily interact with you and try to answer your questions along the way.
Is
All
that
right,
big
Stallion.
enough for you?
Um, nothing is ever big enough for me, you know that. With my eyes, my eyesight's pretty poor. But let me see. Let me expand my screen just a smidge so I can see it a little better.
And I might have to start just like zooming in and zooming out or something because it's getting to be, yeah, I think that'll have to work.
Okay. All right. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, we're breaking down May's passive income report, and we're going to go through this in a step-by-step fashion so that you, no matter where you stand right now, whether you're someone who is sitting on a lot of cash and you're thinking Okay, now what? How do I build passive income? How do I take this cash and turn it into cash flow? Or maybe you're someone who's just starting out. Maybe you haven't been a good steward of collecting cash, right? Or you just haven't had enough time to collect the cash. And you're trying to say, well, what do I do? Do I have to wait? Do I have to wait to build money and accumulate money before it? Is the old adage of you have to have money to make money kind of thing true? We're going to kind of maybe dispel that a little bit for you. And then we're going to give you a little bit of how we did both. And I think we talked about this on the podcast, Stallion, the redneck motor. Remind everybody what does that acronym MOTOR stand for? When it comes to doing deals, you need to have these 5 things, but not all 5 things in order to do a deal. What are those 5 things?
That's right. You have to have money. You have to have an opportunity or a deal. In some cases, you might consider that, right? Time. You're going to have the E. Remind me the E. I just totally forgot it. Experience. I'm sorry. Experience.
You have to have experience in knowing what we're doing. That's right.
And then the last one, my favorite, relationship, right?
There you go.
The redneck motor. Money, opportunity, time, experience, and relationship.
Well, even we forget that sometimes, but those are the 5 things that's needed. And let's start off at the very top of this report. I want to just kind of right from the very beginning. Last month, net income. What did we bring in, Stallion? What went to the bottom line? What is cash money that we could spend?
$47,975.
Okay. This is every single month we publish exactly how much passive income we're bringing in that we could spend to go do our lifestyle. Now, we do this every single month so that you can see that we're practicing what we preach. We're also doing it because truly we want to be financially free. We want that amount to exceed our monthly expenses. Now, do we have active incomes that far exceed how much money we spend? Sure. And that's not showed up on this report at all. We use this report as our governor to help us with our lifestyles and to grow in it. Now, Stallion, as we go through this report, I felt like it made sense for us to break it down in those 3 categories. There's things on this list that we had to trade cash to get the money, right? We had to have money in order to do that. And those areas are the syndications that are on this list, right? Where we went out and we found investments with operators that we just invested cash in. And those investments then produce monthly cash flow. Now, if you haven't listened to a previous report, you know that we follow very strictly an investor DNA concept that says we have to invest from our own investor DNA. We have to use our own investment buy box in order to do that. And so the investments that we've made are not the best investments for you. They were the best investments for us because at the time, that's what met our criteria. What else did we have to do, Stallion, in order to make these investments and feel good about the investments that we made at the time?
Well, I mean, each one of these is going to require you to do due diligence, right? And the due diligence, you've probably heard us talk about on previous episodes. It is not just about the people behind the deal. It's about the actual deal itself and everything you can think of around it. There are risks that are associated with the people and the actual end investment. And you have to start looking at, in fact, I heard somebody say this the other day that I thought was really interesting is that Donald Trump, in his book, The Art of the Deal, said he always focuses on the downside risk because the upside will always take care of itself. But the downside risk is where things were really lost. And so I think that's where due diligence comes in. Sometimes we can get really emotionally attached to deals and to people in deals. But man, if you have the ability to take a really strict due diligence process, that's what makes people really good investors, in my opinion, in this space in particular.
Well, here's one of the things I think you might be asking at home as you're riding down the road is how, though? How did you get this money? I just don't feel like I have this money sitting around. Now, clearly, you have to make good money and you have to be a good steward of saving money. But for so many people, I hear the thing, well, Russ, I just don't have the money. And I don't think that people are broke in general or poor, right? Whatever the term that you want to use. I don't think that that's the case. I think because I've seen so many financial statements, I've seen so many personal financial statements that most of your money has been dispersed amongst one of three areas. You've put it in your 401k. You put it in IRAs. You've done the company qualified plans, and you have most of your wealth in those. Maybe you started putting money away for college education for your kids, and so you've built up these 529 plans and all the others around it. Or you started paying down debt in a really like quick way. Like you went from the 30-year mortgage to the 15-year mortgage. You started, paying cash for every single car purchase that you made. So you took all our cash and you started paying off debt. One of those three areas is probably where all of your wealth is. It's in those things. It's not in a liquid area. It's not in a centralized place where if Joey were to be the investment guy, which he's not, and he brought you a deal and said, this is the deal for you, I just don't think most people have $100,000 that they can invest because they have dispersed it in all of these areas. So if that is you, and you're saying, well, Russ, Joey, how did you guys get to a position where you could start investing in those things? What did we do, Joey?
Well, we learned about this amazing concept called the infinite banking concept. And it told us that we needed to set up that centralized location that all of our money flowed to and through in order to maximize the investments that we were making and to give us the ability to constantly repay ourselves with interest that we would have paid to outside lenders. The cost of capital had to be determined. And you don't have to understand all that today. But what you do need to know is that the power of implementing the infinite banking concept made the absolute all the difference for us. If you haven't done that, you have an opportunity, right? Go learn about it, go invest in the knowledge it takes to get there, and then actually take action. Go to wealth.wallstreet.com/IBC, infinite banking concept, wealth.wallstreet.com/IBC, and get started on that today. That is the number one point blank, ground zero place to start.
Well, when you don't have access to cash, it will prohibit your ability to be able to take advantage of deals as it relates to the M part in that acronym of motor, right? Remember, Joey couldn't remember what the E was, but the M part is money. It's always money. All right. Well, let's think about where else then opportunities find cash. So you have to have cash. So we centralize our cash. We can do that. Now, Joey, you said you love the R part, right? So as we look through this deal, we talk about the relationships. Well, that part of the deals that we've done is when we started trading time and money for deals, right? So there's you have to trade money for deals, you got to trade time for deals, you got to trade money and time for deals. Talk about some of the deals where we've actually traded time and money, because therein lies some of the relationships I believe that have happened that put us in a position to create passive income that's on this report.
Well, time and money, if you're talking about both of these, we invested in short term rentals. And we didn't just invest in short term rentals like, hey, go buy one and then just start renting it out ourselves. We actually took a course. We hired a coach. We hired an operator to come in and actually help us build an entire new business from scratch. That took a lot of time. It took a lot of money. And at the end of it, we had an asset that we could then sell, which you see here. It's been repaying us back as an owner financed deal for the last almost a year now. And so in the month of May, you see that it paid us back $15,000. And that's going to continue on for, I think it's a 3-year note that we have with our current operator. But that didn't just happen by taking money and putting it into a fund or something like that. We actually built a business from scratch. The second thing that I feel like that really took time and money is the land flipping world, right? You've heard us talk about the landgeek.com, but what you didn't know is how we got to a point where we could invest in land flipping by not being the person doing it every day. We had to hire an operator, an actual operating team. And that only happened because we invested in the relationship with Mark Podolsky and his team specifically, we went to their conferences every quarter in person or online. And we actually got to know them, spent time with them. And we said, man, we got to build something together, which again turned into one of, in my opinion, the greatest passive income streams that we have. What would you add to that?
Well, I think the idea that you have to invest in something, the first thing you should always invest in is in yourself. You may hear that, but not apply it, because you will, like if you look at your calendar throughout the year, how many events are you attending? Like how many events for the business that you own? Like, are you going to some conference that's helping you become a better communicator, a better networker, a better specialist in the area that you are in, right? If you're wanting to invest in self for investment purposes, how many conferences are you attending where you're learning how to build passive income? You're learning how to become a better investor. Are you going to find the deals? How many of those conferences are you going to? How many courses are you taking? Like, how are you learning how to do these things? We have this question of, how do I build passive income when I don't have money? It takes money, right? Like, I see these comments on our Instagram posts or YouTube, like, but you got to have money, right? Well, that's the M, but maybe you have the T. Maybe you have the time. How can you invest time? Well, does it take a little money to take a course or to go to an event? Yes. We were just at a financial conference with a guy who's in his mid to late 20s, who, when he was 19 years old, literally hit me up on LinkedIn because he was paying for himself to go to a conference that was in our city to learn how to become a better investor, to become a better practitioner, and was networking with me, and ultimately came and stayed at my house for 5 days. Right? Like, he was willing to take the time, build the relationships, do those things when he didn't have a whole lot of money. So I know that you have the ability to pay for things. You have the ability to invest in yourself, but oftentimes we invest in things that don't really matter.
Let me add to that by the way. So Russ, a lot of times we're talking about that younger generation, and they're saying, well, how can I get started? I don't have the money. The same point that you're making. And here's what I would tell you. The most successful people that we've interviewed on this show who have been at that stage of life, they didn't have money, but they had time and they had the ability to build relationships. And what they found is they went to the places where the most successful people were, which, by the way, are at masterminds, are at conferences, are in places where it takes a little bit of money to get to. It's not necessarily free, but they invested in themselves. They paid their way to get into the room with the right people. And then they went to that person and they were they were close to them in proximity. And they said, hey, I want to come work with you. I will work for free, or I will trade something. I will build you a website because I noticed your website needed some help. Or they had some sort of skill that they offered to that person. And guess what? They then were poured into by that person. That is how you get to a point where you can create passive income, is when you build the skills that the person who you look up to has already created, and they now will pour that into you. I will tell you, very few people will do that. But if you need a place to do that, you need to come join us in Nashville, right? Go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/live and use promo code podcast at the end when you're checking out, so you get a discount on your ticket. But we're going to have 6 speakers in the room in proximity to you who all have needs, who all are successful. Not to mention our dream team of coaches and staff and everybody else. This is the kind of room you want to be in. And this is where you find the people that can pour into you just as much as you can pour into them. So I just don't want to miss that point. It's so important.
So I got this question the other day from a younger person. They said, I have $10,000. What would you tell me to do to create passive income? And I was like, where could you go that you could invest in yourself? What courses could you take? What conferences could you attend? What masterminds could you join? which are the ones that are going to be aligned with what you want to have happen, because the education that you give yourself through that will pay itself off, right? Maybe at the end of the time, you now have the E, you've got the experience, you don't have the M anymore. Maybe you took your $10,000, that's your situation, and now you got the E, you got the education and experience. But man, all opportunities find cash, right? Once you have experience, you know how to do a deal. I promise you, there's plenty of people out there with the money that are going to come to you and be willing to do deals with you if you know how to produce a return. So the best things you can do, the first thing you need to do, invest in yourself. Live events do change lives. Whether you come to ours, you go to someone else's. But if you don't know how to become a better investor, you don't know how to be in close proximity with other people who are building passive income, if you don't have a collective group that is constantly supporting you, looking to give you added value on a regular basis, yeah, come to westfallwallstreet.com/live and attend our event in Nashville. We'd love to have you there. Stallion, you look down this list and you say, man, what are the things that we started trading time for early on? Well, man, we built a media company, right? That media company has been able to create relationships. We've learned through these courses that we've taken that's helped us build passive income streams, like the e-commerce course that we took through Sophie Howard. Like when we were learning how to buy online websites, we did that with our daughters, right? We learned how to do it. You immediately took that, went and bought a website with your daughter. Now, this past month, you had a negative number on the board. Why is that negative? Because the last couple of months you've had a couple $1,000s a month positive.
So whenever we bought that website, despite the fact of taking the course and working with Sophie Howard's team, but which, by the way, highly recommend the course, highly recommend their support throughout the process. But I will tell you, it is a skill set to be really good at building websites, and it takes time to build that. So knowing that when we bought this website, we knew that there's a learning curve that we have to go through, and either we can spend the next year trying to build that skill set and to look at all the ways to do backlinks and SEO and design of websites and all those sort of things, or we could hire an operator. And an operator has those skill sets already. And so we chose to hire that operator on the front end, do the investment of all the things that were wrong with the website, because we knew right when we bought it that there was opportunities to add value to the website. That's a good thing, right? It's not maxed out on what it can earn. It has a lot of upside potential, but there's a lot of things that have to be built in order for that to take place. And so we decided to trade, doing like a 90-day sprint with this operator for him to do all those things that are necessary that need to be done to that website to start really taking off in the future. And so for that, we paid more than what it's actually producing per month in order to do that. So that's kind of is investing for the long haul right now and paying for that expertise up front, which again just kind of goes along with what we're talking about.
And by the way, Trav, if you go back and listen to last month's podcast, I told him this is a bad idea. We will determine in the future whether it is a bad idea or it's a good idea. Joey basically said, I want to delegate off that responsibility. If you wanted to take your money and hire an operator, that's how you would have done on that deal. Or you could have continued to spend the time to learn how to do it, gone through more courses on how to be a better SEO person, how to maybe organize content in a way that gets greater downloads and greater traffic and all the things, and utilize that to turn money. Either way, it costs. Does it cost your time? Does it cost someone else's time? And which one is more valuable? It's only to be seen. I told Joey that he shouldn't have done that. I think taking something that was earning money and turning it into something that wasn't is always a bad idea, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. We also, in kind of like our process here, there's been deals where our relationships with people and time have turned out to build return. Like one of the things that we have the benefit of is deals come and find us. Like we've had people that are just close to us that have very special offerings where they need capital, but they're looking for expertise. They're looking for that experience to add value into the deal that then can add, extra return for the business. And we've done that in several small businesses. And we show that those returns on here where either maybe it was a loan and then providing some sort of advisory to the business, or it's maybe giving some influence, some management insights, maybe being someone who's helping promote the business. That's helped the business along as well. And you see those, through our Stack Candle. That's a candle operation that we own. One of our friends who owns TriVest, we love that business. We believe that model is going to be super valuable for the passive income world, and so we're huge supporters of that, and have lent money into that world to help continue to grow out the infrastructure needed to support that. And I think that we see in different ways those businesses producing income. So 3 different ways you can build passive income. One, you just take cash. How do you get cash? Well, you got to get it in a centralized place. 2, you have to trade time, right? You may actually have to go work for the deal. Maybe you find a rental property and you're the one that manages it. Joey had that long-term rental property. Maybe it's a short-term rental property, right? Maybe you're taking a course, going to a conference, you're going to an event, and you're learning how to do these things, and then you're just going in and doing it. And I would tell you too, a hack behind that is you learn how to do this. You learn how to buy and run you buy an online site like Joey's. You learn how to do the SEO, and then you hit other people up on how to do it too. And you say, hey, let me pay me and I'll show you how to run the thing. Because that's what I would have done for Joey if I had been running my own website. I'd be like, Joey, I'll do that for you, man. I'll take that $2,000 a month for you, right? Because if I've already learned how to do it, now what if I was doing that for 10 different sites? There's 20 grand a month. And what am I doing? I'm improving my skill set along the way. Not only am I getting paid, but I'm improving my skill set because I better be buying these websites myself. And so I'm improving my skill sets with someone else's dollars and working on my own deal. And then I would probably start affiliating that thing. I would start teaching people how to do this and getting paid to do it. Like there's an idea of how you make passive income. The third is you combine it all, right? You combine money, you combine these relationships, and you get yourself in a position where people start bringing you deals because of the experience that you have and just asking you to be an advisor into their thing. Stallion, as we wrap this up, final thoughts on building $47,000 and some change in passive income in the month of May.
Well, first of all, I'm grateful every month because the Lord provides for us in amazing ways. But the other thing that I think we haven't talked a lot about today, and I'll just kind of briefly hit on it, is what does all this lead to? When you have built what we're talking about here, when you've invested in yourself, you've gone to the conferences, you've gone to the masterminds, you've invested in yourself by getting coaching, right? Which that's something I don't think we talked enough about today. Go to wealth.wallstreet.com/free call. If you just feel like, man, I need a 6-month shot in the arm to get all my stuff put together, to figure out my investor DNA, and to then start running hard in this direction. If you haven't done that, go ahead and do that. Like that's super important step. But then what does all this actually lead to? One, your own financial freedom, creating enough passive income that exceeds your monthly expenses. That is an amazing accomplishment. And then what happens when that happens is everybody around you starts saying, how did you do that? Can you teach me? Can you show me what it takes to do the same thing? And what happens then is you have influence. And Russ and I have been blessed with that. So we're grateful that you now look to us, and it turns into affiliate opportunities. It turns into speaking opportunities. There's so many things that come from it. Our book is a direct recognition of the fact that we've been given the gift of influence. And man, it's something that can happen to you. I never would have thought that. You asked me 15 years ago if we would be in the position to be able to share something this valuable with the world. I would have said, I have no idea about any of that stuff. But now, through this process that we've just walked through with you, we're in that position and you can be too. So I don't know, I just want to talk about that progression that we've all went through and how it's very tangible, it's very possible, and we've built you the runway.
Well, Tribe, I hope you found value in us breaking down this in a different way. If you have been challenged to take action on something, let us know. Comment, take a screenshot of this and post it and tag us along the way. I hope that you will come to a live event, whether it's the one that we're doing in Nashville or a future one. I hope that we'll get a chance to meet you, because those are the opportunities that really where we get to connect. And then there's chances there that we can connect you with someone else who might be right along the same path as you, because having not only peers, having mentors, but also having heroes that you can be around are the ways to success, because the success is when you're investing in yourself and now you're putting other people like that around you. Thank you so much for listening. As always, have an amazing day.